How you doing?
Fantastic. Better now
Great.
than here.
Thanks for coming on. If you could, please introduce yourself to my audience.
Okay, my name is Eva Brown. I'm 33 years old. I live in San Diego. I've owned businesses since I was 18 years old, lived on my own since I was 14, 15, really raised myself. Adopted at birth, Hawaiian, Japanese, and I've owned businesses for like a really, really long time now.
Lived on your own since you were 14?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Where
Mhm.
like where? In San Diego or
In Arizona, actually.
okay.
My parents, I always say they did the best they could with what they had. But I
Hmm.
think like a lot of us can relate. Our parents, they went through tough times too, and they didn't really have access to books or the internet or therapy in the way that we do now. So when life got a little bit harder and I was maybe a little bit more able to take care of myself, I think it was easier for them to uh, take care of themselves, right? So my mom moved away when I was 14, and that was kind of a rough story. Like she like took everything in the house and kind of left my dad in a really bad position, which obviously left me in a really bad position. And then my dad and I just tried to do whatever we could to keep the electricity on. So at 14, I'm working. I'm trying to I'm making $4.15 an hour, trying to help pay the bills. He's making friends at the bars, licking his wounds, and obviously those aren't the best friends. They ended up staying in the house. Like every room in the house was filled with different people, like cops coming to the door, looking for these people, crazy drugs I would find, like needles, all sorts of stuff on the ground. And it was like really, really wild to be at that age and see those things. But my dad raised me pretty well beforehand. So I kind of just stayed away from them, started sleeping at my friends' houses. Luckily I was working, so I knew how to pay my own bills. And yeah, we got out of that. It took about 4 years, but I climbed out, and then like at 18 had my own apartment and all those things. I didn't have electricity at my apartment, but at least I have a place to stay.
Wow. Wow. I love these kind of podcasts on how they start like this because literally I reached out because of like what you're doing in business and now you've got like this crazy ass story.
Yeah.
So at 18 you started a business. What did you start?
I was really lucky because my dad raised me to like work really hard and yeah, be the first one in, last one out. So I started working for these entrepreneurs when I was 17 to 19, and I impressed them so much because I was the only employee that like would stay. I would drive an hour to get there, and then I would work 12-hour shifts. I would stay later to make sure everything was immaculately clean. Like I would deep organize, do inventory, like just do the most, and then drive back an hour to go home. I went to college on Tuesday, Thursdays, and then I worked every day. So these entrepreneurs are like, "Who is this girl?" After a year, they partnered with me on a business in Scottsdale Fashion Square. It was a iPlay and iTalk kiosk stand that sold Bluetooth headphones, cell phone accessories.
Right.
Yeah, and to get into that and to help like pay for everything, I was selling Jordans before through high school and college. I would buy new release Jordans and then hold them for a month and sell them retail. So when I needed money to float in this business, I sold all of my own Jordans, and then I just kept maneuvering my money.
And how did the kiosk do?
Not great. I always say our first business definitely didn't make any money in that business at all. It was definitely just for the experience, and I
Uh-huh.
think it's like that for a lot of first businesses. I wanted to,
Wow.
it led to other businesses with other partners. So
Uh-huh. So then what was so okay, let me rewrite. So the kiosk, these entrepreneurs helped you invest in this kiosk.
mhm.
Were you able to get their money back or were they just kind of out?
No, we just closed it. Yeah, I would say at the
Wow.
end when we reviewed everything, the business probably lost like 10,000, maybe 15. So it wasn't that bad because I've invested in other
Yeah.
businesses, so I lost a little bit more.
Yeah, no, yeah, I hear you there. Yeah, in the grand scheme, that's not a lot, but at 18 and just getting your feet wet through your own business, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a lot, but they were really great, and even still to this day, they're really incredible entrepreneurs. They've owned a lot of stuff since then.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're still friends within the same community, and we've
That's great.
have like I've had business partners that are friends and family with them too later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was the next business you ended up doing?
After that, I actually got recruited to work. My friend started a network marketing company, direct sales based, and they needed a trainer. And at that time, I knew I had like about 2 years of skincare sales experience from working with the first set of entrepreneurs, right?
Hmm.
And so then they hired me on as a salary position for a corporate trainer to fly around and train people's teams on how to sell the skincare. So I did
Hmm.
that for 2 years. And then at 22, I exited that and entered into a new business with another partner selling the same skincare in stores and kiosks in the mall in Arizona
Hmm. Hmm.
that for 2 years together. And from that, we invested in a lot of other things too, like rental cars and like toy kiosks during the summer, during the winter time.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're very diverse. Holy shit.
Yeah. I know I look really like a baby, but like, well, hopefully, thank God. But I think I've done a lot in a period of time.
Yeah, you have. Holy cow. Have you do you still keep in contact with your mom or dad at all?
So both of them passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, and I didn't. Let me see. I didn't. I stopped keeping in contact with my the mom who adopted me probably around. I remember asking my dad permission. This is so my dad left to Tennessee when I was 16 years old to get clean, right?
Mhm.
And because for 8 months before that, I wasn't speaking to him because I was like, trying to. I was like, Dad, I can't, right? Like, I need to go to school, I need to work, and do all these things. And during that time, I was just super like numb in general. But like when he said he was ready to get clean and he moved to Tennessee, I was like, okay, cool, I'm on board for this. When he moved out there, I think it was around like maybe I want to say 18, maybe even 19 years old. I finally called my dad and I was like, hey, listen, like I really don't enjoy speaking to like my mom. Like it really like it doesn't like it's not fulfilling. Like it just like the energy is really bad. My dad was big about always respecting my mom. She's like at the end of the day, she's still your mom. I don't care like what happened, what she did to you, to us, or anything. Like that's your mom. Respect her. So I did for a long time, and then I got his permission and didn't talk to her for a really long time. Probably the first time I ever talked to her was like when my dad passed, just to like let her know that like, hey, he's passed on. Uh,
Mhm.
and then recently I found out just like a year ago she passed away.
Oh, so you didn't even know she passed away.
No, yeah. And then after I found out, I was like contacting some of the last friends that she had, and it like sounded like she kind of recluse, like went in on her own and didn't really want to like be around anyone. That was like it's death is a really hard thing because like of course looking back, I'm like, wow, I wish I would have like healed a little bit faster and been able to pour like love into that. Because by the time I was like ready to be like, okay, I need to talk to her. I'm an
Mhm.
adult now. I need to be able to give love into this so we don't like cycle through these same generational curses.
Yep.
And that's when I found out she passed, and I was like, wow. So like, it's kind of my mission always to like let people know to try to love their family while they have, like while they're
Mhm.
here, no matter
Yeah.
how bad it is. Like, yeah, just like sometimes our life is meant to heal other people, and like if we're able to take in like great hurt and pain, I think it's like our responsibility to try to like still like give love and heal others'
Mhm.
wounds, even if we didn't cause them.
That's great that you have that mentality. Do you feel like you've got closure, with the relationship from your parents or lack thereof?
Yeah, a lot of work. I do like every morning I pray, like that's just my consistent habit, but I always add in different meditations or intentions, and probably for almost 10 months now I've been really consistent with talking to my parents in the morning and at night. So I'll like it's like a short thing, just 3 minutes. It's like a conversation, whether if I'm deep in meditation or if I'm just walking around my house. I'm like, hey, good morning, mom and dad. I love you both so much. Like, how's your day going? Sometimes when I'm in meditation, I will like revisit past events and I will play them out as if they were different. So like
Yeah.
if I was getting the love from them or vice versa, like that we were playing or the events that I wanted to have with them, like I recreate it because I believe we can quantum leap if we do those things.
Yeah, for sure. Where did you learn how to do that kind of stuff?
A lot of like really cool energy healers, therapists. I've worked with some pretty gnarly people. Like I remember like waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to meet with someone in Australia who's booked out
Hmm.
like 6 months in advance, and then that one session with that person, it healed so many layers and it opened me up to new things. And they give me different practices to try.
Interesting. What's even more interesting is even through all of that, that you assume you managed to stay away from any substances like that.
Yeah, I always say like that's the blessing is when
Yeah.
you finish something hard, you're typically not going to go back to that place or put that burden on other people.
Uh huh. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Now let's get to the real reason why I'm sorry, that's just crazy. I mean, that your story is phenomenal. It reminds me a lot of I know when you reached out to me asking like which podcast you should listen to, like Carl's story, right? I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that.
I messaged him too. I was like, "Hey,
Did
I
you?
heard you on Bo's podcast. You both were so incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your story." And he's so humble. He's very
Yeah.
this great presence, and I'm like, what he went through is like I can't even wrap my mind around it, right? I was
Me
thinking about it.
neither.
I had to take care of myself, but he had to take care of other people on top of that.
Yeah. At 15 years old.
Yeah, and it
Right.
makes sense why he's reached success at 29. Like that
Sure.
level of success is because he went through so much hardship.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I mean, your story is very similar, right? You just you do whatever it takes to survive and get to where you're wanting to go.
Yeah, yeah. It's always a blessing. I say in life that everyone's going to go through the same type of life, but just in different phases. So some people
Yep.
win on the front end, but they're going to have to go through that work on the back end, or vice versa.
Yeah. 100%. So then how did you end up in San Diego?
I actually moved out here after closing my businesses in Arizona. I reached a point, I was about 24 years old, and I just didn't love what I did anymore, right? I always wanted to own businesses, but I was young. Like, I didn't know. I was just trying to experience things. I was saying yes to every opportunity. And then, you say yes to an opportunity, you build it for 2 years, and you realize, like, okay, I got the skill sets that I wanted, but this isn't how I want to help the world. Like I felt like I was trading my time for money because like
Mhm.
as a business owner, sometimes you're literally working way more and your employees will even make more than you, which is great. But I
Mhm.
just didn't feel like, yeah, I just didn't feel like I was making an impact like globally the way I wanted. So I closed those, sold some, sold all the rental cars, moved, started studying for my real estate exam, came out
Okay.
to San Diego, and never sold real estate. But four of my friends, we took this really advanced flipping course. Um,
Mhm.
and it's a whole program, like you're in it forever, right? And instead of flipping houses, I ended up investing with someone I met in that group as a private money lender. And
Is
then,
it Pace's group?
no, it was a fortune builder group. Have you heard of
Okay.
fortune builders?
No, uh-uh.
But love Pace Morby. A lot of my friends. Are you in his group?
No, I'm not, but I'm very familiar with his works. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Same. I think we all are. Go him.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the one I look up to.
Yeah.
And so it was called Fortune Builders, and such a cool program, right? We met a lot of great people. So I invested with one person from there. Still to this day, we're friends when we do business with each other. That's how we have kept our friendship. I feel like business is the best way to keep friendships. Like,
Yep.
I've known everyone in my life for 15 years, 10 years, and him, we've been working with each other for 8 years now. So I'll help him fund deals. He's hired me for so many things like websites, marketing, whatever I have going on at the time. And that was my first taste of passive money. I really, really liked it. And I wasn't really into selling houses like that. So I never even tried. I actually just went straight into real estate on the construction side. So like going to people's houses, figuring out what they needed, estimating them, hiring different subcontractors, partnering with GCs, getting them leads, reviews, calling a list for see if they wanted to sell a house, which most people
Mhm.
California didn't want to sell their
Mhm.
house, but they needed
Mhm.
construction. And
Mm.
that was my move when I came to San Diego. And now it's been like 9 years, I feel like, from
Okay.
25, 24 to 33.
Okay. And are you leveraging social media for a lot of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, now I am. I was so archaic. I mean, I built my whole business through referrals, and I
Mhm.
liked that. Like that was a flex for me. It was like, hey, my whole calendar's booked out, and it's just because people like us so much and they like our quality. But now I realize that was like a little naive, and I should have been building up websites and an email list. I have that all dialed in. Social media, I went hard with it a year and a half ago. I realized that like this is where people shop. This is where they do everything. And I want a place where they can come and see who I am, what I stand for, what I'm up to as it changes. And since then, I mean, I feel really proud. You know, we have a team that helps do everything for our social media, and we grow quite quite a bit of followers like every month. Like, yeah. What
That's
about you?
fantastic.
Social media too?
I'm trying. I'm trying. Yeah. I'm actually working with Rich Summers on that a little bit. I'm a reserved private person and I hate putting myself out there, but it's kind of like what you have to do nowadays because your brand is everything. And so, yeah, I'm trying to leverage social media more. I'm trying to grow it to help all the things that I'm doing, all my different businesses. And I know I'll get there, but it takes time. Um, I tell Rich all the time the hardest thing I have is like coming up with content ideas. So I actually hired somebody to help with coming up with the content idea slash strategy. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean it's kind of like if I was doing one niche thing, I would have no problem doing content, right? But since I'm doing so many different things, it's hard to figure out like what to put out there, you
That's how I
know?
feel too. Yeah, I think everyone goes through that. It's a lot,
Yeah.
especially when you're running your business that actually, pays for everything, and then you have multiple streams of income from that. And on top of this, now you're launching a podcast, which I think is such a good move. I like your podcasting style too, and you've been really consistent. So yeah.
Yeah, I am having a ton of fun with the podcast because I get to meet interesting people like yourself and Carl and whatnot, and get to hear their stories. And I was actually part of a capital raising mastermind a few years ago that Hunter Thompson runs. I don't know if you know Hunter Thompson.
Mm-mm.
Uh, he told me back then when I started his mastermind, which is 2021, that I should start a podcast, and I never did. And it's just like, man, imagine where this would be 3 years later. But regardless, no, I'm having a lot of fun with the podcast, and my goal is eventually have an actual studio, kind of similar to like what Rich has and whatnot, and be able to bring people in and have really cool conversations and whatnot.
I have a lot of cool people in Chicago. Not that you need any help finding cool people, but I have so
Hey, I'll always take referrals.
that you can interview out there. Chicago's such a vibe. A podcast studio would be really cool. We're also going
Yeah.
to do the same thing out here eventually. But like yourself, I'm just not trying to take on too many things because everything takes time. And I
Yep.
look at my time like every minute. I look at it literally like money, and I'm like, I can't afford to spend it here, even though I want to. Like, I have to spend it here, and it
Yep.
takes a lot to get things off the ground.
Yeah, no, 100%. So you're still doing the flips?
No, I never really even started with flips. I would just invest as a private money lender.
Okay.
And I personally love that side of things. And that's a lot what I talk about too on my Instagram. And something I've always been really passionate about is residual income, passive income, like doing something that's like building up your generational wealth in the future that's not going to be so dependent on your time. And I felt really lucky. So I went in a completely different direction. Like as a private money lender, that was really great because that gave me access to the the P&L statements. I got to see the Gantt charts, the tracking, right? I get these reports on what's happening. But then also, while that's working for me, I took a different direction and I was the liaison between a contractor and a homeowner. So
Mm,
all those homeowners that wanted to do construction and not sell their house, I could offer them my services where I would bring in the contractor who's already vetted, who I've used many, many times before, so they know they don't have to worry about him not showing up or mismanaging the money properly and using like cutting corners. Like they know that not only is my name staking on it, but also I'm representing them as well. So we would create a really cool team, and the contractor doesn't really have the amount of time to talk to a client
mhm.
in the way that a client typically wants. We would talk to, so I would be the liaison between the two, and the contractor really enjoyed it because I'm the one who's filing the documents, submitting the contract, making sure scope creep doesn't happen, and letting the client know, hey, if you want to do that, that's actually going to be a change order. Let me talk to the contractor and see how much that will be. And then instead of them having to deal with the client like being upset or wondering why, and they have to sell, which their time is so valuable. They don't have an hour to spend on that conversation, even though it deserves an hour. So
Yeah.
I feel like I was able to have a really nice position there. And after doing that for 4 or 5 years, I naturally moved into consulting. Like by my third year, I was consulting a lot of the contractors and helping them raise their profits on their business, increase efficiencies, because I realized that sometimes things can be really inefficient on the field.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so how exactly does the private money side work? How do you get into it? How do you make money? I mean, I understand, but for someone that doesn't know, how do you actually make money on the private money side?
Yeah, I learned about this in that program that we were on, and my mind just like I never heard about it before, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." So most flippers never use. Obviously, we know they never use their own money, and even there's a big industry term called OPM, other people's money, and that's
Mhm.
just used in business across the board. So at some point, well, pretty much at all times, these flippers are raising capital to for the flips because it's cheaper than getting a short-term construction loan, which could be upwards of 20% interest. Instead of paying them, they'll pay private money. So people that have enough capital, enough cash that they want to make it work for them and maybe save on their taxes by investing in real estate. And then from there, you're negotiating with a flipper and you're saying, hey, you want my money for 12, it's typically between 12 to 24 months. And then you negotiate your return. So anywhere, the lowest I've seen is 8%. And that's for someone, in my experience, like that you trust a lot, that you've done business with, and it's just a really great deal in general. And you know that you're completely safe. On maybe like a more like someone might see it a little bit more riskier, they're going to want a higher percentage. So 14%. I've seen it go up to 18%.
Yeah.
The most I've gone has been 12 to 14% is my average that I'll negotiate in at. And then what I liked about these types of investments is your name. Typically, it goes on the deed.
Yeah.
So when they sell, you're getting paid every single month until it sells, and when it does, you get your original money back that you invested.
So are you going out and finding the capital and reusing it?
Actually, I do that. After about 8 years or so, I've built up a pretty like large list of people that want to make their money work for them. So when deals hit my desk, I will always send them out to my investors, and then they'll invest on deals.
And you're just collecting a fee for putting the
Mhm.
people together.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Nice. And then I think the other side is, are you also doing an Amazon business as well?
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Okay, so that's what I really wanted to talk to you about because this is something I'm interested in getting into.
Cool. Yeah, ask away.
So, what are you selling on Amazon? How'd you get started? All that stuff.
Okay. So I believe connections is everything. I only do stuff through connections. And how I got introduced to this done for you Amazon store. I had no idea things like this even existed. I always wanted to be in Amazon, but like I don't have the time to do all of that. I've tried
Right.
it too a few times and I lost money and I just the time's very valuable for me. So
Yep.
um a year and a half, like 2, 3 years ago, when I really started like posting on Instagram and trying to figure it out, one of my old friends from like 6 years prior, we met in a like a business training company,
Mhm.
and he saw that I was in construction, and at that time he owned his this Amazon business and a few other companies, but also he recently invested in an architect firm. He hired me as their consultant to come in and just do what I normally do. And through that process, I started to learn more about what he did, like all of his businesses, which one of them was this Amazon store. And then it's what it basically is he created a network of people. So he himself went out there and made millions a year in Amazon, but then he wanted to start ordering more to get better prices. He wanted to utilize his contact list, his resources, and then he started managing stores for his friends and would make them money passively. His team does everything. He has a whole team in the Philippines of like at one point it was 1,000 employees. And
Whoa.
yeah, he's actually been able to streamline his business even more because as you get better, um,
Yep.
and then now they're able to get the same amount done for like 300, 500 employees. So that's been in the Philippines for like 6 years. He bought his warehouse here in San Diego years ago. And because they've had a change with the landscape of Amazon. At one point you could do FB or at one point you could do drop shipping, but
Yep.
that changed like 2 years ago. Then you had to buy the warehouse here. It's right across from the Amazon San Isidro port. And then
Yep.
they're using their like the employees are calling and making connections with all of the manufacturers. They're buying products that are already being purchased, like name brand stuff. So like Sonic
Uh-huh.
toothbrush heads, diapers, vitamins, like spices, like just random things that they've negotiated a 20 to 40% profit margin on. They get the pallet shipped over to the warehouse. They repackage it there and then give it to Amazon for FBA. And this whole process is done for me. I'm really thankful because when I see it in the group chat of all the things that these employees are doing, like in each person's group chat, we all have 3 employees that manage, like, so I have 3 that manage my account. And yeah, they do a lot, like attorney, like there'll be fake attorney letters or like inventory problems, or they're always answering these questions to these clients and to
Mhm.
Amazon. And there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes that I don't want to mess with. So I invested my money for them to do it as a franchise fee, and then I pay for the inventory, and we split the profits.
What's the split? 50-50 or
You can choose, so however you choose to buy in, it can be 50-50, 60-40, or 40-60.
okay.
Yeah.
And like what do you think? Like what's your average return that you can make per month?
It depends on how much you invest in inventory, but across the board, the portfolio as a whole will do by year 2, it's hitting like 32 to 40%. But your first year, it's like 17 to 25%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really really great. Like actually, I just got a testimony from one of my clients who invests with me a lot, and he also got his store in the first month. I didn't even know this because I was just like, hey, can you send me a testimony? And in his testimony, he's like, yeah, the first month we put the products up and did $35,000 in sales of products in the first month.
No kidding.
And his went like even a lot faster than mine. So the rule of thumb is right at the end of the day, like no promises. They have a system. They know how to get these numbers. And then for sure you make your investment back within the first year. But obviously a lot of people do it sooner. The things that it depends on is your speed of reply. Like if you are very fast within hours responding to an email, because if you take like 7 hours, it's going to be the next day for someone else.
Right.
There's lags. So your speed of reply, and then the amount of money you have to invest in inventory.
And what's the cost to initially invest?
Anywhere from 35 to 50,000, and then it just the 35,000. It's like I think that's their lowest split, which it might even be 30 to 70,000 or 30 to 70% split.
Okay.
Mhm.
But you potentially could make your money back in the first year.
Yeah, I mean, really across the board, everyone makes their money back the first year.
That's
Some
fantastic.
people do it faster.
I
I
need to get involved with that.
Yeah, this investment, I liked it a lot more because I just felt like when I looked at the same amount of money that I was going to invest, I could have invested in a rental property in the Midwest, maybe even two, but the return I would have been, let's say, $400. So that's $800. And that's if I don't have a project management company, which I would have had a project management company. So then it
Mhm.
goes even less. And then when I looked at Amazon, I can invest the same amount of money. The store's in my name, the bank account, everything. It's my asset. And then the stores are built to sell. So another thing I like about this community is even if someone does, like after 3 years, if they need to sell for some sort of tragic reason or whatever the case is, they can sell within the group. So either you can sell your inventory, it's an easy transfer. If you just need to get out right away, or you can sell it to someone who's interested in buying in. A lot
Mm,
of people come in and they buy someone else's store.
gotcha.
Mhm.
And so on average, 50,000 to start, and then whatever you could spend on inventory per month.
Mhm.
And so let's say you could spend another 50,000 per month in inventory. You first year you're going to make somewhere between, let's call it 20%, and then by year 2 you're between 35 and 40%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in
Yeah.
this.
I'll,
We got
I'll
to we got to talk offline.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll connect you with my friend.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I'm interested in that. That's cool. See, there's so many ways to make money,
I
right?
say there's a million ways to make money. Like, just do whatever vibes with you. And I just always say, like, people, like, we all need to just live a little bit below our means. Like, be
Yeah.
willing to sacrifice whatever, the cars, the fame, the glitz, the glam. Like, none of that really matters. At the end of the day,
No.
it's about your family, your time, how you can spend it. I mean, I
Yep.
still work super hard. Like, I'm working still all the time, 50, 60 hours, but that's for businesses that I'm really passionate about.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we should still just make our money work for us so we can just have that beach money and sit on the pool and relax.
Exactly right. No, you are 100% right. Yeah, my problem is I have opportunity ADD. Like I want to do so many different things. I just need like 10 of me to be able to do them all.
I say that all the time. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm always just trying to give back to my team and like help
Yeah.
them. Like at the end of the day, I want all of them to just go out and like own businesses and be me and like be little replicates, and then we can
Yeah.
just come back together and win.
I say that all the time too. Like I don't mind sharing the wealth, right? But the key, this is the key. The key is you need to find somebody that is a good leader that could take the initiative and the responsibility in that business to take it to where and do the things that's required, right? Like if you're willing to front all the money and help kickstart the business, I'm totally for that. But somebody's got to come in and be able to like really run it and know how to run a business, right?
Yeah.
And work those 50 or 60 hours, right? Because that's what it takes sometimes.
Even more, gosh, when you're like,
Yeah.
now I work less. I feel like 50, 60 hours is nothing. But man, when I was first starting, like I was working 8 hours easy.
Oh
And
yeah, easy. Yeah. Yeah.
like all I would do is sleep for 5 hours, wake up, and then go to work. And like
Yeah.
driving to work, you're on phone calls, you're learning something.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, like, I'll leave the office, I go home, and I'll work some more at home till 10 o'clock at night, you know? I do that every single night, even on the weekends, right?
Wow, now it's just ingrained in you. It's who you
It is.
are, how you show up, and it
Yeah.
makes you really efficient, I'm sure.
Yeah. But that's how you learn all of these skills, and that's how you learn all the little nuances of business to make you better, you know? And I'm not saying I'm like some guru, but I'm just saying, like, look, if you're wanting to start, like, this is what you gotta do. You
Yeah.
know, it's not how it looks like on Instagram where you're sitting on a beach in year 1, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I always try to remind people because, like, sometimes my life can look so great. I'm like, listen, guys, like, it took a lot of work to get here, a lot of struggles, and even now, it's still struggles, just in a different way. But there's
Different
no way
way.
around the 10,000 hour rule. Like, if you want to be great, you just have to put in
Yeah.
those hours.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is 100. I even think 10,000 hours is light. You know, I think
It is.
I think it takes more.
Yeah, it totally is. And it's challenging for me because now I come from a place where like I know a lot more about health, especially after losing my dad to cancer and all these things. Like I learned about stress and how to manage it. And it's
Mhm.
kind of this fine line between respecting yourself, resting, recovering. I always say
Mhm.
like all I do is work and then go into recovery. Like I don't party because it's
Yep.
I mean occasionally, right? But like that's not my
Yep.
I don't do that on the weekends. And it's because that's still heightening my cortisol levels, which is
Yep.
helping me in recovery. So that means I'm just nonstop working in a stress state. And then you only like tap in and let things come to you a lot easier if you're like recovered and your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the same way. Like I don't drink. My diet is, pretty, I'd say 95% pristine, like I eat clean. I try and do it's all whole food, and I do as close to farm to table as possible. I avoid seed oils. The only thing that's my kryptonite is cookies and brownies.
Not fair. That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
But yeah, I don't go out either. Like I don't go to the bars. I mean, even in my 20s, I didn't like I did that, but even when I was there, I didn't like it.
I don't
I'd
like
much rather be home and working.
same the energy like I need to like I don't know I just feel like we only have so much time in this world and
Mhm.
I want to spend every single day like filling up my cup to fill up other people's cups and having like stimulating conversations and I just think that like partying a lot of these things is just like a trap like it
Yeah.
just keeps us stuck not like finding our true like
Yeah.
hope and purpose.
I recently went to this get together that an M&A guy put together, and he invited me, and there was like some private equity guys there and other business owners, and it was at a whiskey bar, right? And they were doing whiskey tastings. And he's like, hey, I'd like for you to come. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come out, because I'm always like trying to expand my network and stuff. I'm like, I don't drink, so I'll be a cheap date. And when I was there, I'm sitting there drinking a water, and everyone was like, "You don't drink, you don't drink, you don't drink, you don't like." No, just like if people find that weird, like when you go to an event like that and you're sitting there drinking club soda or water.
It's weird how people are so numb to like numbing themselves, like alcohol,
Hmm.
caffeine, drugs, all those things. I mean, we all have vices. I think people go through phases with trying
Yeah,
things, and it's okay to try something out, put it down, and go back to it. It's fine. But when you really look at like why we're doing these things and where it stems from, you just like start to look at life a lot differently.
yeah,
And like, I love that you don't drink. In fact, like, have you ever read this book, Conversations with God?
no,
It's not a like a religious book. It's just more about this man who's like meditating and just talking to God, and it's just whoever you believe. And on this book, in this book, he's talking about how the human body was never meant to ingest alcohol. It was actually
hmm,
designed perfectly to live forever. And the more I know about science, the more I believe that our bodies are insane. And when you know about Dr. Joe Dispenza, who
yep,
you can literally heal yourself, and
yep,
when I read that, I was like, wow, that's so true. Like any sip of alcohol really is like going into our engine, our machine, and not making it run properly. Inflammation,
yeah,
like
yeah. No, 100%. That's actually why I stopped drinking. I mean, again, I was never a big drinker to begin with, but I used to compete, and I wanted to be able to compete to my best ability because genetically I used to compete powerlifting. Genetically, I'm just not built for it, right? I have every disadvantage when it comes to that. I'm not a big guy. I don't have large muscles. Comparatively, I wasn't the strongest. So I did everything I could in order to just give me 1% better, right? So that I could be a little bit more competitive. And then it just kind of stuck. Like then I started, dieting more, better, eating right, better food. You start feeling better. And I tell people all the time, like when I go out and I actually have a shitty meal, like, you know, eat like Five Guys, like I like to go out and get a Five Guy.
mhm,
If I go out and I eat that Five Guy, like literally, like I feel like shit the next day. So that should
same.
tell you something about the food right there.
Mhm. Same.
But
It's
I
it's not
Yeah, but I do that because I don't believe in being like 100% strict. You have to like enjoy yourself a little bit, right? Hence why I like my, chocolate chip cookies and brownies, right?
Oh, hmm, yeah, because I
But
have a lot of days where I don't feel really great because of what I ate before. I can feel it, but like, I want what I want.
yeah,
And
no.
those Five Guy fries are really good.
Yeah, I know. Their burgers are my favorite for in terms of fast food. Um, so another book that have you ever heard of the book called The Immortality Key?
No.
So it was written by a guy named Brian Rescue. I'm butchering his last name, but kind of going back to the book that you mentioned about, that alcohol wasn't meant for the body. He actually started doing studies on chalices that they would uncover during uh, uh, archaeological digs, and they would test the inside of these chalices to see what people were drinking back, hundreds of years or thousands of years ago. And what they found was a lot of the ancient civilizations would drink ergot. And ergot it has a form of like ayahuasca slash DMT in it. And so the running theory is that a lot of these people would drink this stuff and they would have spiritual experiences, out of body experiences, which is everyone that says they've done ayahuasca or DMT, that's what they say happens, that they have an out of body experience, right? A spiritual experience. And so the running theory is that ancient cultures and civilizations would drink this stuff to get themselves closer to God or closer to that spiritual being. And this is where a lot of religion, today's religion, stems from, is those experiences and whatnot. It's a fascinating book to kind of like give you like a full circle of like where where things have come and where we're going, right? Because that was kind of like to heighten the mind, and
Mhm.
then alcohol is the polar opposite of that,
Yes,
right?
it's lower frequency
Yeah,
energy.
lower frequency. Yeah.
I have this rule of thumb where like anything that is mainstream that is
Mm.
accepted socially, I question.
Yeah.
And so far this rule of thumb has always worked out for me because I read a lot and I know a lot about like ancient civilizations and where things stem from. And as you like take in more information, you realize the world is so much bigger than what we ever thought it was. And that
Hmm.
there is not one right way. But I used to always say too that I feel like drugs like that they help show you what's possible for your mind so you
Yep.
can access those types of things in a sober state. And definitely there's so many studies out there with anything that's open your mind. It's like you can even see the difference in the frequency, as you said before,
Yes.
like the alcohol lower level frequency. And I've even heard this well put that they call it spirits because it opens up like darker
Hmm.
spirits to your aura, your frequency, your soul, whatever you want to call it, which it makes sense just on a scientific level of how our body takes that. You
Hmm.
you are depressed the next day. It evokes anxiety, and if it's doing that, then it's obviously that's a result of something that's not good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And one of my podcasts I did, which I interviewed a psychologist, and we kind of talked about this a little bit. Is like substance abuse, alcoholism, drug abuse, all of that stuff. People always say that it's that alcohol. Let's take alcoholism. Alcoholism is hereditary. It's not that the alcoholism is hereditary, it's the trauma that caused the alcoholism that's hereditary, right?
So
So if you're suffered some type of abuse as a child, you will tend to repeat that abuse with your children, and then it just keeps going on and on and on and on.
yes, yes. And then it activates your epigenetics, which
Yes.
like you and then I like researched a little bit about this and it can go back 7 years or 7 generations to like if your seventh grandma, great grandma had alcoholism, then it let's say if like you now never had an issue with it, but if you go through some trauma, as you say, your epigenetics will kick in and then it will evoke that DNA to activate. And then boom, now you are addicted for
Yeah.
until you break it. It's meant for us too to break our generational curses. These
Yeah.
words come up, which I love. I love
Yeah.
like
There's this study that was done on lab mice. I don't know if you ever heard this story, but or the study, but what they did is they took these lab mice and they had them in a cage, and they put an electrical mat at the bottom of the cage, and they would spray lavender. And every time they would spray the lavender, they would turn the electrical pad on, and it would shock the mice, and the mice would jump, right? And so they would do this over and over and over. So it became a conditioned response to where they removed the electrical mat, sprayed the lavender, and the mice would jump. Then they bred the mice, and the offspring of those mice, every time lavender was sprayed, the offspring would jump. So going back to what you said with epigenetics, that fascinates me. That's mind
me
blowing.
too. Me too. Yeah, everything is so connected, and I think once we
Mm-hmm.
open up our mind to the fact that it is when we can really start like healing ourselves, healing others too. Because I think the more you learn this type of stuff, you have a greater capacity to love other people and like
Yeah,
have grace and understanding, and yeah.
that seems to be. I feel. I don't know how you feel about this, but I almost feel like the younger generations are really swinging that way with trying to be more, like you said, giving grace and more open minded and willing to change for personal growth.
Yeah, yeah. You see some of these kids these days on TikTok, like babies, like playing the piano at 2 years old, or I can like sometimes I see a 5 year old speaking the way you and I speak about love, and he's just getting these crazy downloads, and I'm just so thankful because every generation truly does get better.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. In some cases.
True, yeah. This world we have a lot to grow through still.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
as people like you and myself, like we continue elevating and then we reach back and elevating, I really, really believe that the world will tip a little bit. It's getting
Hmm.
scary with like, not scary. I welcome it. I love change, but like a lot of people are worried about AI. And I can see there's going to be a point where the world is actually going to like separate and we have to make a cognizant decision on like, how are we going to like for example prevent poverty versus like people being mega rich,
Hmm.
AI, it's going to take out a lot of jobs and it's going to be the people who are utilizing AI that are going to make all the money, and then what are we going to do with the people who didn't figure out how to be like an innovative thinker? It's going to be interesting.
Here's my feeling on that is I feel that every generation has had some type of disruption to their industry, right? Um, when electricity was invented, right, everyone thought that people were going to like lose jobs and people wouldn't have work to do, right? But when there's some type of new technology that comes into fruition, it actually opens up more jobs for other people. It helps eliminate unnecessary jobs or makes us more efficient as a culture and civilization, right? Because that's what electricity did. That's what mass production did in the industrial revolution, right? They thought, oh my God, we're going to bring in all these machines and it's going to make jobs go away, but it really hasn't, right? It's continued to grow. New jobs and new industries are developed out of these technologies, and I think that's what AI is going to do. It might get rid of some of these nuanced jobs that most people don't want to do, right? But it might open up new jobs or new industries that maybe before were never around.
I love the perspective and the analogies. Those are really solid analogies where I can get a full picture. And yeah, actually, you're right. I can imagine the candle makers back then, like
Yeah,
now, like, oh my God, no one's going to buy my candles anymore.
right, right.
But then they
I mean, you,
innovated. They're like, yeah, let's add essential oils to it. Now they're like, oh,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, remember before electricity, street lights were candles, so they would have a guy going around and lighting street lights every night, right? So I mean, it's everything evolves and gets better and changes, and I think that's what AI is going to do.
yeah, great point. Great point. Yeah, I think we'll be. I know we'll all be safe for sure. Everything just up and up. What will you
Yeah.
do though when they put AI in a robot and then like you have a robot in your house that's like cooking your food and all that? Like, are you gonna be a little worried like I Robot, the movie?
No, I'm 100% on board. Yeah, because look, I hate cleaning my fucking home. Like I don't want to do my laundry anymore. I want someone else to meal prep for me. I will 100% buy a robot to do that.
I know, right? I'm such a nature girl. Like like ideally want to buy a homestead, and
Yeah.
like a really big piece of land where my friends can come, and then we have a center garden and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, so I still probably will buy a robot too because I like to see it. I'll just be scared. Like, what if they reprogram his mind and all of a sudden like they turn against us? And I'm like, oh goodness.
Yeah, I know that is the weird thing, right? Is a lot of the stuff that's going on is like they've been making movies about it for 40 years, where AI or technology is going to take over, and we keep like moving towards that direction with some of the things that we do, but hopefully guys like Elon will kind of put a stop to some of that stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. But like you said, I'm definitely gonna get a robot because, like, if other people are gonna get one, that means like me having one. Like, if they do all turn against us, it's not gonna, there's not, it's not gonna make a difference.
Yeah, yeah,
It make a-
yeah, 100%.
yeah.
So if people want to get a hold of you or learn more about what you're doing or invest with you, where can they reach out?
Eva Brown on Instagram. It's spelled EVAA Brown, like the color, and that's really the best way. I have other pages. They're all linked to my main page. Yeah, that's really the best way. I'm an Instagram girly.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast chatting with you. I really appreciate you giving some insight and talking about everything. I mean, your life is extraordinary.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking interest in my life. More to come, more people to help. And yeah, thanks for humoring me with my AI talk and
Of course.
PMP
That,
and all sorts of cool stuff.
yeah, that's my favorite kind of stuff to talk about, right? Just the nuanced stuff that doesn't really relate to business,
Yeah,
but it's fun conversation.
I didn't know you and I would be able to get down like that, but that was really cool. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And let's do this a year from now so we can see how much further you are ahead in life.
I'd appreciate that. Let's circle back.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Mhm. Bye.